Radiation. The word alone can send a chill down your spine. It's invisible. It's silent. It doesn't burn your skin or make a sound. And yet too much of it can slowly unravel you from the inside out. We hear about it in superhero origin stories, nuclear disasters, and medical treatments. But what if I told you that there's a place on Earth where radiation once reached lethal levels, and yet today you can actually visit it? Not through a documentary or a remote camera feed, but in person, with your own feet on the ground, with a Geiger counter clicking in your hand, and thousands of people already have. Welcome to Chernobyl, and the most radioactive place you can still visit. On April 26, 1986, the world changed forever. What was supposed to be a routine safety test at Reactor 4 of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant ended in an explosion that tore through the building, exposed the reactor core, and released a radioactive cloud that would drift across Europe for weeks. It was the worst nuclear disaster in human history. Some first responders died within hours. Others suffered for weeks from radiation sickness. And the town of Pripyat, a bustling Soviet city built just for the plant's workers and their families, was evacuated in a rush, never to be resettled. What's left behind feels like a time capsule frozen in the exact moment when life stopped. Children's toys scattered in classrooms, empty apartment buildings slowly being reclaimed by nature, a rusted Ferris wheel that never spun for the May Day celebration it was built for. But here's where it gets strange. Despite the radioactive contamination, today you can book a guided tour to Chernobyl. That's right, it's tourism. It sounds unbelievable, but each year thousands of visitors enter what's known as the Chernobyl Exclusion Zone, a roughly 30-kilometer area surrounding the reactor, sealed off from the rest of the world. Why would anyone go there? And more importantly, how is it even possible? Radiation doesn't just linger in the air forever. Some types of radioactive particles decay quickly. Others, like cesium-137 and strontium-90, can take decades to break down. After more than 35 years, overall radiation levels in the zone have decreased significantly. It's still contaminated, but not everywhere and not equally. Some areas have hot spots, patches of soil or moss that still emit dangerous levels of radiation. But many other places have returned to relatively safe levels, if you don't stay too long. A typical one-day trip to Chernobyl gives you a radiation dose similar to a long airplane flight. Not harmless, but not immediately dangerous either. Still, there are rules. You can't touch anything. You can't sit on the ground or eat outdoors. You have to wear long pants and closed shoes, and after the tour, you're scanned for radioactive particles before you're allowed to leave. And of course, there's no picking up souvenirs. That piece of metal you think would look cool on a shelf? It might be radioactive for the next 300 years. What you see when you visit Chernobyl is equal parts fascinating and chilling. Pripyat, the abandoned city, is the most famous part. A place where nature is reclaiming concrete. Trees grow through floors, vines curl through broken windows, and animals, wolves, boars, and even link roam freely. In the absence of humans, wildlife has made a surprising comeback. Biologists studying the area have found species thriving in the radioactive wilderness. It's a bizarre contradiction. A human catastrophe has become, in some ways, an accidental wildlife refuge. Then there's the infamous Red Forest. This area right downwind of the explosion absorbed such a massive amount of radiation that the trees literally died and turned a rusty red color overnight. Today, it remains one of the most radioactive places on Earth. No one lingers there, not even the animals. And of course, there's the reactor itself. You can't get close to the original core. It's now sealed under an enormous steel structure called the New Safe Confinement, built to prevent further radiation leaks. It's the largest movable structure ever built on land, a colossal sarcophagus designed to last a century. From a safe distance, visitors can stand near this monument to catastrophe and human engineering, where concrete and steel hold back the consequences of a single fateful mistake. Visiting Chernobyl isn't like visiting a museum. It doesn't present you the past with polished labels and air conditioning. It makes you feel it, It makes you walk through the ruins. You breathe the heavy, humid air of the forest, hear the clicks of your Geiger counter rising and falling, and sense the eerie stillness of a place that should be full of life but isn't. It's a place where history isn't just learned, it's absorbed in silence. But should you go? That's a deeply personal question. For some, it's a dark tourism bucket list item. For others, it's a chance to witness history with their own eyes. Not just what happened in 1986, but what happens when nature, science, and humanity collide. It's a lesson in hubris, in the invisible dangers we create, and in the resilience of both ecosystems and memory. You don't go to Chernobyl for entertainment. You go for understanding. Radiation doesn't glow, it doesn't hum, it doesn't feel hot. But it leaves marks. On the land, on the lives lost, and on the stories that must never be forgotten. Chernobyl remains the most radioactive place you can legally set foot in. And in doing so, you cross a line between fascination and fear, between disaster and recovery. If you ever visit, it won't be the most beautiful place you've seen, but I promise, it will be one of the most unforgettable. If you found this story intriguing, hit that like button and subscribe for more science and history videos. And tell me in the comments, would you ever go to Chernobyl? Until next time, stay curious and never stop asking what's hidden just beyond the edge of the ordinary.